Alrighty, I'm super excited. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Super pumped to be talking about kicking self-sabotage to the freaking curb today. Today, I'm going to be teaching you how to learn the root of where self-sabotage really comes from in your health and fat loss journey. And we're going to begin turning it around. Basically, as soon as you learn these lessons, you're probably going to have a couple of light bulbs go off as we go through this today, and you're going to be able to start applying this information immediately. But first, before we get into the how and how to break this down, let's understand self-sabotage. And first, why is it important that we break this down and that we turn around this cycle? It might seem pretty obvious to some, but some of you might not quite understand this concept. Essentially, self-sabotage is just any time that we take an action that is not productive towards our goals when we really don't even intend to, and we want to see the progress, and we've stated that we want to see the progress, but our actions just still aren't lining up. It almost feels like automatic or uncontrollable. And the reason why this is so important to figure out the cycle to and identify is because it's ultimately going to be our biggest limiting factor in our journey. And it can help propel us to new heights if we better understand how to prevent and turn this cycle around. But if we don't, we will be stuck in an exhaustive cycle. We won't know how to get ourselves out of ruts, and we'll continue pulling ourselves back down every single time we start to make some progress. So, if any of you have experienced self sabotage, I'd love to know if this is resonating with you. So, just comment below on the live stream if you are resonating with this. But let's talk about who really experiences this. This is really for anyone who feels like sometimes we just kind of end up off track and we don't even realize how it all unfolded. We're seeing ourselves take these unproductive actions either in the moment or in hindsight towards away from our goals rather than towards it. And we feel super frustrated with ourselves because why are we doing this, right? Whether that is eating the sweets when we don't want to eat the sweets, whether that is skipping the workout, even though we have some time on our schedule or our calendar, we put a bunch of other things as a priority instead of our actual workouts. These can be a couple of examples of what this looks like. And honestly, when this happens is almost always when things are kind of going well. I've found that this is when personally I experience the most self-sabotage is when things are actually going pretty well and I sabotage myself from kind of breaking the next threshold, breaking the next plateau, the next level. So during weight loss, like I'll get to a certain point that I've gotten to before, and then getting past it is awful because I see myself just pulling myself back down. So sometimes it's during weight loss as we're going through the process, and other times it's actually after weight loss, right? So, how many of you have lost weight before in the past and then gained it back and then done that cycle over and over and over again? That is usually because we are self sabotaging from being able to actually maintain the weight loss long term, right? So, lastly, before we get into the tactics of how to break this down, the most important thing that we understand here is that where this happens is usually in our subconscious. So, we're not going to look at what I'm going to present next and be like, yeah, I totally see myself thinking that all the time. Some of you may, however, a majority of you may not yet. The reason why is because we're not really tapped into what our inner dialogue and our thoughts and our feelings are really telling us because no one teaches us how to do that unless you've been really, really keen on learning your inner dialogue, going to therapy, breaking down the things that you tell yourself in your head. If you're not already doing that, this is probably going to be really foreign to you, and it's going to be stuff that's really happening under the hood. So we are going to start pulling it to the surface, practicing mindfulness and actually pulling this stuff out of the subconscious into the conscious so that we can really reverse this cycle. Because if it was something that was always conscious, then we probably would have fixed it by now, right? So I'm going to share my screen here. And for those of you who are just listening to the audio, just listen along. You should still be able to follow along. But let's talk about where this even starts. So our actions and our self-sabotage or lack thereof are influenced by four things: our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, and our actions. So this is actually a cycle. It goes this way from top to right to the bottom to the left. So it starts with our thoughts. Everything starts with our thoughts. And what are thoughts? They are words and pictures in our mind. When we have these thoughts, then we usually will have some sort of a feeling next, right? So the thought might be that I have so much to do today. And the feeling might be that adrenaline starts rushing. We start to feel really alert. Our heart starts to race. But these are just energy. This is just sensations in our body. It doesn't technically mean anything yet until we assign meaning to it and it becomes emotion, right? So emotion is, let's say, anxiety in that situation. I have so much to do today. Heart starts racing. We assign meaning to it, and that creates emotions, feelings, and thoughts together. And then the emotion paired with a desire to do something or not to do something leads to an action or lack of action, which is still technically taking an action or making a choice. So emotion plus our desires lead to actions, which is a choice that we make, which then gives us feedback and allows us to, let's see, there we go. There we can see everything here, and allows us to go back to thoughts. And then we have more thoughts that fuel our feelings and emotions that fuel our actions. So it's important to understand this cycle because our self-sabotage starts with the fact that we have over 60,000 thoughts per day. Over 60,000 thoughts per day. I'm skipping ahead on my slides here. And a majority of them are negative. Majority of them are very, very negative. And if you've ever tuned into your internal dialogue, how you look at yourself, talk to yourself in the mirror, just how you speak to yourself in your head, the kinds of thoughts that come up and crop up throughout the day, many of them are negative. So if we have 60,000 thoughts per day at minimum, and majority of them are negative, then it's no wonder that if our actions are derived from our thoughts and the things that come from those, that we're not taking the appropriate actions towards our goals, right? So how do we hack the system is really the question here. And there's two questions that we can ask ourselves that break down this cycle and allow us to reverse it. So the first one is when we have specific emotions. So the good thing is that if you've ever been to therapy or you've ever been aware of your emotions, this is a great place to stop and observe. So when you're feeling a difficult emotion, whether that is anxiety, sadness, hopelessness, frustration, anger, whatever it might be, you have to ask yourself this question. What would I have had to believe to feel this way? This will bring you back to the belief that is congruent with the thought that you had. So something that I skipped over was when we have a thought, the only way that it turns into a feeling in our body is if there is a belief associated with that thought. The belief that that thought is true or is not true, right? Because when we are practicing mindfulness, we practice the fact that not all of our thoughts need to be identified with. Not all of our thoughts need to be true. We can just see the thought come up and let it go by. But if we have a feeling that comes from the thought, it's usually because we have identified with that thought to some degree, right? Otherwise, we would have just let it go. We wouldn't have a feeling. So there's a belief that is linked to the thought that we had. And so, for example, the thought might be, I can't get this workout in, right? I can't get this workout in. The belief might be that there is no time or that there's not enough time for me on the schedule or everyone else's time is more important than my own. The core belief, what is underneath that thought? And so if the thought is I can't get this workout in and the belief is because we feel some sort of sadness, we feel some sort of uh, dissatisfaction with our goals. We feel disappointed that we're not going to get our workout in. What would I have had to believe in order to feel this way? We go back to the belief. It's probably that I don't have enough time on my calendar or my time is just not allocated towards myself because everyone else's time is more important than mine. The core belief here sounds like it's probably something along the lines of my time is not worthy of taking care of myself. Everyone else is more important than me. Or, I can't get this workout in. Maybe the emotion that they're feeling is frustration or helplessness. What would I have had to believe in order to feel this way? The belief might be that I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not capable of getting this workout in because my body isn't capable. It's not going to be able to hold up against the tough workout, or I don't even know what exercises to do. I don't have enough knowledge. Like, I don't know what to do here. And you can see that those beliefs feed into the feelings and emotions of sadness, frustration, anger, helplessness that then lead to the action of not doing the workout, right? Because we have believed those thoughts to be true. Now, here's how we hack the system. We ask ourselves the question, is that actually true? Is the belief true? And so the belief that your time is not as important as everyone else's, there are two answers to that question, yes or no. And what we need to do in order to hack the system, whether we truly believe it or not yet, we have to start declining those negative thoughts and beliefs that come up. So if the thought is that you're not worthy, you're not capable, everyone else is more important than you can't do it, if that is a core belief that is underneath the emotions that you're feeling in the moments that you're not making the choices that you want to make, you have to ask yourself, is that actually true? Is something else possible? And it will unlock your mind to think in a different way, to think of new possibilities. Or you could ask yourself, if you struggle with that, is that true? Because you might think it actually is. You could ask yourself, what evidence do I actually have to disprove this belief? So, for example, the during weight loss, right? Things have been going well. I've been being consistent. I've been losing weight. I'm making progress. So, what evidence do I have to disprove the fact that I can't do it? Well, probably have a lot, right? That you've been sticking with your diet, that you are capable, that you've been doing the hard things. So, no, it's not true. Or you could ask yourself if you're good at tracking data, like what your adherence to your nutrition looks like, or what your sleep patterns or what your workouts look like. You could ask yourself, what does the data say? This is something we talk to our clients a lot about because we have plenty of data. And a lot of times the data will show the opposite, right? They step on the scale's up for the day. The thought that comes up is, I'm not making progress. The belief is that this isn't going to work. I'm not capable, or, I'm not in the right, I can't do this, right? The feelings and emotions that come from that is sadness and helplessness. And the actions that follow sometimes are self-sabotage, right? But if we can hack that and say, you know what, actually, what does the data say when the scale goes up? Well, we average out week to week what our average weight is. So those daily fluctuations don't affect us so much. And the average weight may still be down a pound for the week. And so then we can say, no, it's not true because the data says otherwise, or it's not true because I am capable. And that is where we shift the cycle. That is where we turn things around. And what happens is, think about how you might feel after you say, no, that's not true. I can do this. The data says otherwise. You're going to feel some positive feelings, some positive emotions, and you're going to be more likely to take positive actions, right, towards your goals. So I gave a couple of examples of this throughout, but the biggest thing that you need to remember is that there are 60,000 plus thoughts per day, and most of them are negative. So you're not going to change them all overnight. It's really important that you be patient with yourself in this process, because it is going to be something that takes time, that takes repetitions, and takes mindfulness of you catching this over and over and over and over again until you finally have more control over your actions. And so it is going to be a long, arduous process. It is going to be difficult to reverse self-sabotage. And my best advice for you as I wrap this up is, if you struggle with a lot of self-sabotage, it's important to celebrate the wins along the way that don't feel like wins yet. So for example, if you self-sabotaged 5, 6 times this past week, and you're able with this cycle to then bring that down to 4 or 3, it's not going to feel like you're doing that much better, but that stuff's going to add up. So if you can celebrate that, if you can log it, notice it, write it down, journal it, and notice a difference, a lessening in the pattern, celebrate it, because that win is going to give you more positive thoughts and fuel that cycle in a positive manner and allow you to continue to unwind the cycle of self-sabotage that has most likely been like your entire adult life. So it's going to take time. Be patient with yourself. Give yourself lots of grace through this process. Understand you still will mess up and self-sabotage, just less and less and less over time. So hopefully this was helpful for you and educational to help you understand more about why you're doing what you're doing and how to flip the script and get yourself going in the right direction. Drop a comment below if you enjoyed this, if you got something from this, and send me a message if it was impactful for you.